Hey everybody, welcome to the Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar after show. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the after show today is our director, Mr. Patrick Raitt, and the instructor for today's webinar, Mr. Casey Roberts. Today's webinar was Perspectives on Cannabis, and welcome, Casey, to the after show. Great to have you.
Thanks, George and Patrick. I always look forward to doing this with you two. I'm not sure why I do, but I'm weird that way.
I'm just going to go with it. That's great. Casey, one of my favorite parts of hosting a webinar that you're doing is getting to introduce you, because you've got such a long laundry list of accomplishments. One of the accomplishments or insurance disciplines that I don't have you having been a practitioner of is anything related to cannabis. But you've given a bunch of talks on cannabis for the Academy. I'm wondering, why cannabis? Is it because it's the subject is interesting? Is it because to you collectively we don't know as much about cannabis as we should? What's the impetus besides behind you giving these talks for us?
For once, I'm going to take the high road and avoid the humorous response. I know, frightening, but
I tried to work around that as well.
You done well, George. You done. I think it's because of my interest in all things farm and agricultural related, and that it just made no sense to me, just from a production standpoint, to not allow a farmer or an agricultural operator to raise a product that has such a strong history and has great benefits. I'm not talking about the cannabis per se, I'm talking about the hemp. And so, but to understand hemp, I've got to understand cannabis, or at least have a passing knowledge of it. So
Sure.
To me, it's just an approach of, well, I do a lot of ag related teaching and speaking. And so this is just, it's got to be something that I know about. And so it's, to me, again, it's what we've talked about previously, is one of the great benefits we have in doing, those of us that speak or teach, is we have the requirement or the ability to go ahead and research things. And we have a natural inquisitiveness. And that's the one thing that has always served me well in the insurance industry, and serves me well today, at least I think it does, is I want to know more about things, and I don't want to just take someone else's word for it. Okay. I mean, it's one thing to know that it's hard to hit a curveball, but until you're in the batter's box and someone throws you a curveball, you go, dang, that's really hard. Right. So, doing some research on it is, to me, is important, because again, the only information that some people may also get about cannabis and or hemp this year is possibly from this, from our webinars. And so that is a responsibility we have, is to know what we're talking about and do some proper research on it too. So
Sure.
A rather lengthy answer to a wonderful question. Thank you.
No, not at all. Thank you. I wanted to know what sort of made you tick in that department. Like what makes you want to teach us about cannabis. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Patrick, a fantastic part one to the two-part course. What are your thoughts on today's class, please?
Yeah, and one of the things I thought Casey did really well was lay some groundwork in the history of this particular product or plant in our country. And what was fascinating was this strange mix between the hemp product and the marijuana product, if you will, or the drug, if you will. And Casey, you also brought out a lot of different court cases and similar types of cases had very different reactions. I thought it was very interesting. You mentioned a Supreme Court case where it seemed like the left-leaning justices voted against, and the right-leaning justices seemed to vote for the appellate, if you will. and it went kind of opposite the way you would actually expect it to go. I mean, do you see that a lot?
The law fascinates me. I mean, there are days when I hear, I look forward. I mean, let's face it, I'm a strange dude, number one. You just ask Elaine anytime you get a chance, right? And she'll tell you, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with him, but he's entertaining, or at least I don't know. But to me, some of the more fascinating times of the year are those times when the U.S. Supreme Court announces their various decisions.
Yes.
Because I find the thought process of jurists and their relationship to how they look at the law and interpret the law, I find it intriguing. It's fascinating to see their logic and their thought process. And so when I start to read a court case, you know, it's sometimes I'm just fascinated that, oh, that's how you got to that decision. Whether I agree or not, you know, one of the decisions regarding the medical marijuana reimbursement was that, well, if you were a healthcare provider, you didn't have to reimburse them, but you're not a healthcare provider, you're a construction company, and so you do have to reimburse them. And I'm sitting there going, okay, that's as they explain the law, that's exactly on point. But it's just fascinating to me that these distinctions are made, and it's what we sell too. I mean, the coverages that we sell and service and work with on a daily basis are contracts.
Right.
And, you know, the courts are going to, if we can't figure out what the contract says to the satisfaction of everyone, the courts are going to step in and say, hey, look, we're going to interpret it for you. And
Right.
so I don't think we can just look at them and say, well, your opinion doesn't matter. Oh my God, their opinion matters all the time. So yeah, I just find it fascinating, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. And the opinions of the courts really do, without changing the physical language in the contract, can create a huge difference in a contract. You had mentioned, I believe it was a Colorado case where the definition of contraband was deemed to be, I've lost the word. Ambiguous, yes. And in making that statement, the court then automatically has to go in favor of the claimant, the customer there who didn't get their claim paid, because that's how courts rule.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting to me is that same case tried in any of the other jurisdictions around the country could have gone the same or different, back or forth, just based on the individual state or the individual court involved.
Yeah, I think so. And to me, I was talking to an attorney the other day who had called me to see if I could help him in a case, and it was way above my pay grade. It was about crop insurance, and I can spell crop insurance, but after that, I'm not your guy, right? I just, I'm glad we have it, because, we certainly need it for the production that we do. But he had asked me a question. It was just one of those things where you just go, and I forgot my train of thought already, Patrick. This is a great after show now. You've done it to me. There was a point, I was going for a point there, but it is now lost to the netherworld.
Well, in truth, that really just settles in my mind why I haven't asked you to do any classes on crop insurance. There you go.
Now you know. Yeah, please don't ask me. I can refer you to some great people, but I'm not your guy. Oh, no, the thing that got me was in that one Colorado case is that the insurance company, we've got to assume they knew what they were insuring.
Right.
You're insuring a grow operation and a dispensary. And now you're going to turn around and say, well, our contract shouldn't cover that which we agreed to insure because it's against the law. Well, then why are you insuring it?
Right.
I mean, so I looked at that one, and again, as you and I we've all discussed before, there's sometimes when the court makes a decision, I go, how did you get to that? But I looked at that one, and that to me was one of those duh moments, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, come on. You took the guy's money. You told me you're going to cover this. And now you're going to say, oh, no, we're not going to cover it because, well, it's contraband. Well, really? To me, it made no sense.
Casey, you mentioned part of the class talked about the difference between hemp and marijuana, and its THC content, like the
Yeah.
0.3 that hemp has. Does that ever change much? Does the government ever change like how much THC in hemp would make it hemp or cannabis, or has it pretty much been that way since the beginning of time?
It's been that way for as far as I know, George. I should have found that one paper. Look, I might even have it for day 2. I don't know. I believe since 1946, it has been that 3/10. I'm looking for the paper here to see. Now you're gonna,
I was gonna say you could have just said I'm gonna tell you on day 2, and then
I'll tell you on day 2, George.
Excellent.
I will take a look there. As I said, there is a, and I'm not sure I put it in my resources either. So maybe I should go back and do that. There's
Casey, also in your esteemed opinion, you talked about reefer madness as part of the history of this culture.
Yes.
Studying it, that came out in 1937, and that scared people and prompted all the legislation. Do you think if reefer madness was made today, then there would have been that much of an uproar? Like, if they never made the film and then all of a sudden it came out in 2021, would it? Because it's pretty silly, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure it could get made today. I don't think it could get published today because I think someone would say, "Oh, wait, you can't put that out there. That's just totally wrong." So I don't know. I got to go back and watch it again, though. And see what happened to me in my earlier days that made me the way I am today. Maybe we now have an answer.
Maybe. Casey, I'd like to ask you, what can we expect on day 2 besides, when hemp became the 0.3 THC content question, when that happened?
Well, I'm going to make some tea. Oh, now there's a double entendre for our class, which was unintended. Oh, yeah, that reminds me back in the day. Okay, now I'm going to try and look at some of the tea leaves of what legislatively we can expect. And to me, some things just seem to take a life of their own. And the legalization of cannabis to some degree, or the decriminalization of cannabis at the federal level, I think is coming down the road. Now,
sure,
we've got President Biden who says no at this point in time. And I think President Biden I think the biggest challenge for him is he has a son that, if I recall correctly, has some drug issues. And so I think there's going to be that connectivity in his mind about, and now again, this is pure conjecture. And that's why I gave that little disclaimer at the beginning of the class that, hey, this is my stuff, right? I'm trying to hold you harmless, right? So, so we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at the marketplace a little bit. Just some of the things that are going on in the ENS world. We've got one slide on what is it? Canashura is that what it's? I'm trying to remember. Cannabop. We got just one slide on, and again, just to give people a flavor for what is going on out there. And then I've actually got a question for you guys. Let me ask you this. So let's put the interviewer's hat on my head for a minute. I think this is a thought I have, and it's one of those original thoughts. And most of my original thoughts die from solitary confinement. Okay, so they've just never had a companion. But I think a lot of the pushback on the legalization of cannabis in the U.S. can be attributed to the delivery process of the product. That if you're talking to someone of my age group, how did one take cannabis? Right? You got some zigzag papers, you rolled it and you smoked it. And so that is in a lot of people's heads about how it is going to be delivered today. But quite frankly, a lot of the delivery system now is via edibles.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, you can go down to a dispensary and buy bud, if you will, buy flower tops, right? But a lot of it is still is being delivered via edibles, especially because I think because of the looking askance of delivering something into the body via smoking process, even though medically it's a good delivery system from the standpoint you want to get it into the blood system right away, get it into the lungs, boom, you're there, right? As opposed to going through the gut area and the things that have to go on with that. So I don't know. We're it's just, to me, it's again, it's one of those fascinating things. I'm sure maybe we can get you some hate mail about why are you having some drug pushing wacko guy from California talk about, something under the guise of insurance. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, you can send all of the hate mail to Insurance Journal at P.O. Box 4738, Nowhere, California, zip code to be determined.
And on that note, gentlemen, I think I'd like to thank Casey Roberts for his instruction today, his insight. And we're looking forward to day 2 on Thursday. So thanks, Casey. Really appreciate your time, your insight, your humor, your knowledge, everything. So thank you so much.
Well, as I tell you every time, and I sincerely mean it, it is a privilege and it is an honor to present on behalf of the Insurance Journal and the Academy. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks so much, Casey. On behalf of today's instructor, Casey Roberts, and our director, Patrick Great, this is George saying thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll see you next time, next webinar, next class. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves.